What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 60 of the Halving Report podcast with myself, your host, Brad Mines. The price of Bitcoin on Friday, March 4th is just under 41,000 US dollars. There are approximately 2 years and 2 months left until the next Bitcoin halving. In the midst of all the Ukraine and Russia news, we have one of the most fun voices in the crypto space on the podcast here today. Joel Comm is a renowned author and most notably the host of the Baddest Podcast. Welcome to episode 60 of the Halving Report. Thanks for coming on today.
60 is my favorite number. I'm just a little over 2 years away from 60.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a big one. It's a real big one.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's weird. I don't feel it. I definitely don't act, when they say act your age, I don't know what acting, right. I'll be 58 soon. I don't know what that looks like, but to me, it looks a lot like acting when I was, 28. I don't know.
Well, I just saw a clip of you that was going around. I think maybe on one of your more recent podcasts where you interviewed, where you said how it just, everything just speeds up and time goes by quicker and do what you love, and that kind of crossovers with your 2018 book, The Fun Formula, and just living every moment to the fullest. But I'm familiar with your work, Joel, or a good portion of it anyways, but maybe I was wondering if you could just give us a brief background for some of my listeners who may not know who you are.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Brad. I appreciate it. I've been into technology my whole life. I bought my first computer when I was 16 years old in 1980. It was a TRS-80 Model 1 with 4K of RAM, and it had a tape cassette player was the storage device. Before you had a hard drive, before I had a floppy disk drive, you'd have to say load program and then hit play, and it would load it off of your cassette tape. And I was dialing into bulletin board services pre-internet in 1980. So I've been in the online world for 42 years now, which makes me feel, I say that and I think, damn, that's old. That's a long time, but it feels like it went by like that. I built my first website in 1995. I've built sites and sold them. I sold one of the first multiplayer game sites in the world to Yahoo. That became Yahoo Games for a decade and a half. They ran that thing before they screwed it up like Yahoo screws up everything, and ended up shutting it down. I've created number one iPhone apps. I've been in the affiliate marketing space, internet marketing, social media marketing, and in 2017 went down the crypto rabbit hole and started the Baddest Podcast with my friend Travis Wright. I believe, were the first podcast to talk about NFTs in December 2017 when CryptoKitties came out, and in summer of 2020 during the first lockdowns, we started the Nifty Show, which was the first NFT podcast. And here we are almost 2 years later. We've minted over 1.5 million NFTs of our own intellectual property, including the blockchain heroes, which you see somewhere here around my head. And just love the space. We've gotten to advise or invest with a number of crypto projects. We really like the play to earn space, the upcoming metaverse space, and just having fun.
Yeah, well, I'll mention, the Buy Crypto podcast was one of the first crypto podcasts I started listening to, and I was so excited about the just the space in general. And I think you guys had a line. I think I called in. I said something, but you guys replayed it on the show, and you guys had a good chuckle. So and just
we're the gateway drug into crypto. That's we're and that's what we always intended, is like all these other shows out here. There's some great content that was happening up till 2017 and still is, but a lot of it was really high-minded, super techy, and we're into tech and we're futurists, but we're also curious, and we want to learn, and we're playful. So we thought, hey, let's take the conversations that we're having offline, bring them online, talk to people who are smarter than us, and throw in a good, healthy helping of fart jokes. And, if our audience is out there, they'll find us. And so that's worked. Just us being, who we are is a lot of fun. And so we're the gateway drug into crypto for a lot of people.
Definitely. I mean, I was going to ask you, how you guys differentiate from all the other crypto podcasts. And I can say for myself, you guys you're yourselves, and it's lighthearted, and I'll be listening and be all serious, and all of a sudden just something zany will be said, and it just makes me chuckle. So it's a good aspect of it that I like.
And sometimes we get, people will be like, we'll get a review like, these guys, interrupt their guests for a stupid joke. I'm like, it's called the Bad Crypto Podcast. You talk about truth and labeling. We don't pretend to be financial experts. We're not financial advisors. We're just two dudes talking crypto, and we like to have fun. I'm not going to be super serious about this stuff. I mean, it's important subject matter, but if I'm not having fun, then why am I doing it?
Exactly. And you co-host with Travis Wright. Mm-hmm. So I just want to ask, what's your relationship with Travis? How long have you known him? What's the background there?
Yeah, so I met Travis, I want to say 8 years ago ish, somewhere around there, and we were acquaintances in the marketing world. I saw him speak one time at a conference, and it was probably mid 2016 or so that he sent me a message on Facebook, and we started talking about politics and the upcoming Trump Clinton election, and we found out that we were very much aligned, and we crack jokes with each other, and almost every day we're talking about this election. And then the election happened, and we talked about it a while longer, and he brings up Bitcoin at some point. What do you think of this? I'm like, and we start talking about it. He had already gone down that rabbit hole. He actually mined 50 Bitcoin from a faucet back in 2012 or something. And of course they're lost forever. They're gone. They're on a hard drive buried somewhere in a Kansas City dump. But he found his crypto buddy in me, because he would go talk to other people about it. Nobody knew or nobody understood. And he and I started talking, and I was super curious about it. And by May of 2017, I had made my first Bitcoin purchase. So, it's March right now. So I'm almost 5 years into to Bitcoin, which sounds like a long time, but we talked to a lot of people on the show that have been in 10 years, and 9-10 years. And it's like, you're the real OGs. We're like the second level OGs, but it's still early. Anyway, July 16th, 2017, the day that shall live in infamy, he sent me a message, and he said, when are we going to start the Joel and TW crypto show? And he was kind of joking, but the moment he said it, I was like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. I'm calling you. I called him right away. I said, let's do this. Let's do the show. And because we've been in marketing, we've been in tech for so long, we were able to do everything we needed to do to register a domain, set up a website, have the graphics, set up a podcast, put together our podcast. We've done podcasting before, do basic marketing across social platforms. And the first show came out 2 days later. And it was amazing, because it all happened right before the 2017 bull run. So our show just went boom. I just took off right out of the gate. And we're really grateful that, people enjoy what we do and like listening to us, because we're just a couple clowns who really dig blockchain.
Yeah. And like you said, the timing was really good, and sort of in the same mindset there. I wanted to launch mine before the next bull run, because I got in 2017 as well. So, to start my own podcast and start talking about it was a little early there for me. But and you answered my next question a little bit when you said you had some podcast experience already. I was going to ask you about that. Maybe you can just touch upon that a little bit more. I'm assuming the Bad Crypto is probably your most successful podcast.
It is. I did the Joel Comm show in a few different iterations, starting in, I want to say 2012-ish. So I've done many interviews. I'm a public speaker. I've spoken all over the world. So communications is, part of my wheelhouse. And I did my first YouTube video in 2006. So I've been, at this content creation game for a long time. So when you're having conversations with somebody else who's passionate about subject matter, and you really just kind of, you vibe, the conversation is solid. All you're really doing is hitting the record button and continuing that conversation with, some sort of format around it. And that's really all it is. When Travis and I are together at a conference or any other event, sometimes people will walk up to us, they'll hear us talking. And it's like, it sounds like your podcast. I'm like, yeah, because this is how we talk in real life. This is, it's not fabricated. We're having conversations, only we're hitting the record button. It's not, so Rogan does that best, right? Literally you hear, the intro music, and he doesn't come in and go, welcome to the Joe Rogan experience. I mean, we do that. He just he'll go in, be talking with his guests. It's like, so what's that you're smoking over there? I mean, it's just conversation.
Yeah. I love that. The Joe Rogan podcast definitely, was one of the first ones I started listening to and got me into listening to many more podcasts. And it is admirable how he just, hits the record button and he goes there. They do go for, they are almost, it's hard to keep up with the Joe Rogan podcast because
I can't. It's too many hours.
3 to 4 hours, Monday to Friday. It's just, it's hard to keep up. And I wonder if there was a little more
too much for me. It's too much for me, but some people, they're at work, they're listening, all day. I'm doing other stuff. Usually if there's an episode I want to listen to, I'll do it in 3 or 4 sittings, depending how long it is in order to get through it. So I miss most of them, but I tune into the ones that really go down the rabbit holes, because I love that. First of all, I love that people hate him, because that just means he's doing something right. The dude's just asking questions. That's it. He's not putting a narrative out there. He's willing to ask people and let the guests speak for themselves. And we need more dialogue like that, I think, in the world.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, about your structure of your show, and I know you guys kind of formulate your questions as you go along, but what's your basic, do you have a basic structure that you like to keep to?
Yeah. So, essentially, I'll write the teaser and I'll write it right before we record it. It just, copy is one of my things. Sometimes it comes out funny. Sometimes it's intelligent. Sometimes I don't know what to say. And you could really tell, that one time I think I said, on today, we've got so-and-so, and this is the shortest intro in the history of the podcast, episode number, blah, 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 because I really didn't know what to say. And boom, we're in. But that's kind of funny in and of itself because it's unusual. So I write them, I read them, and then we don't do the music production live. So we record the teaser, and then we go right into the welcome to the show. We do the bookends. We do the bookends, which are the fronts and the backs, after we've conducted the interview with the guest. So they'll schedule to come on, they'll do the interview, we'll have that in the can. Our producer Erin will have that interview edited. Once we know when that episode is going to come out, she'll provide us with basic show notes. I'll write the teaser, we'll do the front of it, then she'll do the bumper music to go in, music coming out, we do the back half of it, and then it's a stay bad and we're done. And if there's anything that's funny, that didn't make it in the show or didn't fit in the show, but just that we leave that as an Easter egg. So for people who listen to after the disclaimer, more than half the time you're going to hear us cracking up and, making fun, doing accents or just goofing off with our little Easter eggs. And I love that. That's just so fun.
And what is it? Usually a couple of days between the recording and the release date, or a couple weeks?
It really depends on how backed up we are, how much content. There's times where content's been lean. We've been traveling, somebody's been sick. And so we're not recording in the last, I want to say 4 or 5 days, we recorded 2 interviews, and those, I don't know when this comes out, but one of the episodes came out last night. And the next one will come out on Sunday, and then there's no content beyond that, but we've got recordings scheduled. Sometimes we'll have enough recordings for 3 weeks worth of content if we know we're going to be traveling, and out of pocket or on vacation. And so that's one of the reasons we stopped doing news. We did what we called bad news once a week, and that was news of the week that we would comment on. But availability and requiring a longer time to record wasn't as much fun. It's more interesting to me to talk to people who know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, and let their content content speak for themselves, and we kind of act as the shepherds, for our audience, the ombudsman, the in between, helping to guide the discussion and educate people and make people laugh along the way. So the simpler, the better, especially after doing it for as many years as we've done. We're coming up on 5 years in July. We've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people across Bad Crypto and the Nifty Show. So many people we've talked to, probably 1,000 interviews, I would guess. I mean, we're in episode 600 or 500 and I think 92 of Bad Crypto. And then
Wow.
we used to do the ICO spotlight episodes, which were numbered differently. There was probably 50 of those. Then we would have Bad Crypto extras, which were not numbered episodes. So we've probably done, closer to 700 total shows in 5 years. And I think we're on like 140 of the Nifty Show, which also sometimes Travis co-hosts with me, sometimes my son Zach co-hosts with me, and sometimes they do. If I'm out of pocket, the two of them will do the show, so we kind of can rotate people through. I don't like to be too busy. I don't want to work too hard. I live in Puerto Rico now. I'm on the beach, and I want to go to the pool, and I want to have my free time, and I don't know.
Yeah, you have to have balance. And even myself, I don't like to overdo it, because when you're doing too much, it loses that sense of that fun, right, that you're having when you're doing it, right?
You mentioned my book earlier, The Fun Formula. That's why I wrote it. There's I love Gary Vee. I think that he's doing some amazing stuff, and he will own the Jets one day. I own a Gift Goat V Friend. I own some book game stuff. I bought 96 of his books that I'm giving away to people so I can have the NFTs. I love what he's doing. But the hustle and grind mentality, which he says he doesn't even do, I don't believe it. All you got to do is look at his face and see he's hustling his ass off. It's not sustainable. And for me, it wouldn't be healthy. There's a lot of people that their work is their life, but work to me is a subset of my life. And it's all integrated. And I think if you're always hustling and grinding, you might be pursuing the wrong things, because I've lived long enough to know that at the end of the day, the only things that really matter are the people in your life and the experiences that you have. Because and I'm saying, once you've got enough coming in to pay your bills, to put food in your stomach and shelter over your head and clothing on your back, take care of your family. I'm not disparaging anybody who has to work hard in order to meet basic needs. But, once you get past that, then it's really trying to figure out, what is it that I really want? And lifestyle is way more important to me than becoming wealthy. But money seems to come when you're doing what you love. And so I encourage people to go down that road and not listen to the messages that society throws at you, that you got to get up at the crack of dawn and work yourself to the bone 6 days a week. And on that seventh day, when your friends are, taking the day off to be with their families, you're still hustling and grinding, that somehow that's going to put you in the lead. That's not necessarily the case. And more often than not, it'll put you behind. Work smart, not hard.
That's right. And stack stats and collect Bitcoins along the way. Yep. And that might get you to
that's right.
that fun formula a little bit quicker. Yeah. I also listened to the audiobook of Twitter Power 3.0. And I was surprised to hear, I don't always hear the author narrating as well. Is that something common, or that?
Well, I didn't narrate that. I have not narrated. Did I narrate Twitter Power 3?
There was some parts in the book where your voice would come in.
Oh yeah. You know what? You're right. That was the only one. So Dave Taylor was my co-author. He did most of it. And there were some portions. I think I set the stage for each chapter. Is that what I did? Yeah, it's not as frequent. And I really wish I had done it for the Fun Formula. It was my last book, and it's the one that is closest to my core. Screw Twitter, as far as I'm concerned. Twitter has jumped the shark, and I'm shadow banned on Twitter. I've got 650,000 followers and almost next to no engagement. And it's not because my tweets suck. It's people aren't seeing it. They're hiding my stuff, and Twitter's just become a Orwellian nightmare of censorship. It's amazing to me how far we've let big tech go. And don't give me this BS about, well, they're a private company, they can do whatever they want. Yeah, you're free to be an asshole and alienate a majority of the population who believe in free speech if you want to, but doesn't make you any less of an asshole. So there will not be another Twitter book. But I wish I had narrated the fund formula. And I was really upset when I found out that the publisher had already hired somebody and started, because these are the concepts that I really want everybody to know. Like, don't read any of my past books, just read the fund formula. I think it's the one that'll help anybody the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives it a sense of authenticity when I hear the author's voice. So I just thought it was interesting, even though that you did a bit of the Twitter power. It would have been cool for fun formula too, but regardless, I enjoyed it. And so you were in Colorado before, but you've made a decision to move to Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken, within just the last couple of years. What are some things you've learned since moving there, and why did you make that decision?
Well, I grew up in Illinois, went to school at University of Illinois. So I've been through the cold winters, right? I stood at the bus stop for 12 years, during the sub-zero temperatures many years. So I've had cold. I lived in Texas and Oklahoma, which, I call the South. People don't think of it as the South, but it is South. So I've lived on the plains and the flatlands and Tornado Alley for 20 years. And I've lived in Colorado for 14 years. And the last place I lived in Denver just had a 23rd story apartment building with this magnificent view of the entire front range of the Rocky Mountains. And whenever I would vacation somewhere warm, I would love going to the beach and being somewhere where you have tropical breezes. And I always thought to myself, what would it be like to live on an island? And, day 7 of your vacation comes up and you're depressed. Because why? Because you got to get on a plane and head back to the cold. Well, I never wanted to have to do that again. And so now I'm home, and every day, I don't even look at the weather app, because I know what the temperature is. It's going to be high of 82 here in the winter and low of, 72 just about every day, like clockwork. And so I moved here in April 2021. Would have moved sooner, but COVID shut down a lot of stuff and made it more challenging. And bought a condo just off the beach at 60 seconds from my front door into the water. And the pool is right there. There's a golf course behind me. And what I've learned is that the Puerto Rican people are delightful. They're super kind, but their processes here are horrible. It's very much island life. The lack of efficiency here is something you really have to get used to. So you become very patient. There's no such thing as Amazon Prime. I mean, we have it, but it's not 1 or 2 day delivery. Most stuff takes a week or longer. It just takes more time to get things done. But the upside is that we live in a community that is just packed with entrepreneurial and like-minded people. So we've made so many great friends here and are never wanting for relationship. We're just really plugged in. It's a community called Palmas del Mar. And if anybody's going to, be in the area, let me know.
Cool. That's a good opportunity to meet Joel Comm, everybody. And what's the cost of living down there?
So where we are, there's definitely a demand for housing because more people are moving here. There's some really incredible tax benefits if you're a U.S. citizen, because Puerto Rico is not a state, but it is a U.S. territory. There's a couple pieces of legislation here that if you jump through a few hoops, you pay 4% tax on your business and no capital gains on your gains earned while on the island. So, wait, what was the question before I went down that rabbit hole?
Just what the cost of living was like.
Oh, the cost of living. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can save a lot of money, legitimately, in what you would be paying in taxes. But electricity is more here. I pay more, to run and AC my place than I would back in Denver. Some things are hard to get, costs a little more to import stuff. Some things that you would buy on Amazon that would be prime free shipping, there's an import cost to it. But depending where you are on the island, cost of living can vary. It's still the U.S.
Right. And what's your take on the legalization of Bitcoin in El Salvador? And what have you ever decided to go? Have you been there, or would you want to travel there for any of
I've
those
not
reasons?
been. I would totally check it out. I think they're brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think El Salvador is going to be the first use case study of watching a country turn around, become extremely wealthy because of the foresight that their president has to in their legislation had to make Bitcoin an official currency. I think it's brilliant. And we're going to see others follow suit. It's just, there's no stopping Bitcoin. You have to unplug the internet. We need an EMP to shut down. And if that happens, we got much bigger problems.
Right. With everything going on right now in Russia, Ukraine, like, is it possible that they target Bitcoin miners in the future? Could that have a
yeah, I think
effect?
it's possible. Yeah. I think it's always possible. I mean, crypto goes up, crypto goes down, but it's unstoppable money, right? Bitcoin is unstoppable. The network is decentralized. There's miners all over the world. And when China said, hey, you can't mine anymore, great. Hash rate moved to the US and to Europe and other places. There's always somebody else that'll plug in the computer and go, sure, I'll be the one to help mine these and validate these transactions. Count me in. I'll take some sweet Bitcoin pouring into my wallet for participating in the network. And then you've got, coins that are privacy coins like Monero that really unstoppable, right? And they're not the only one. There's several of them that are privacy coins that you could put all the, legislation out there that you want. You won't be able to stop it. It's not possible. And so crypto and blockchain are a juggernaut, and it's, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting what's happening now. And I know in Canada, like, legislation's coming down and our FinTrack oversight happening, and the hoops you kind of have to jump through to even withdraw your cryptocurrency from some of these exchanges. Now they want to know who it's going to. They want their name, their phone number, their address, what type of wallet it is. It's really getting kind of scary, because these aren't the crypto ideals that you and I have come to believe in, right?
No, they're not. And that's why people who are smart with their money will find legal alternatives to managing their money. I've heard of a lot of people getting citizenships, second citizenships for other countries, so that they can have privacy and do what they want with their cryptos. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. What they're doing is they're creating a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots, because that's all that government does. Government does nothing for the public except occasionally, fix roads and, defend when we're not actually actively going to war to defend. Other than that, government just gets in the way of absolutely everything that humans want to do, and make life more difficult for everybody except themselves, who they enrich. And they enrich themselves and they enrich their cronies. And I don't know when the people are going to learn, but we keep making the same mistakes. So what people who are wise are going to be looking at is, what is their plan B? How do I operate in a way that continues to provide me with freedom, understanding that the governments intend to squash my freedom of speech, my freedom of movement, my freedom to transact, to buy and sell. All they are interested in is controlling that. And they do it in the name of, we're stopping money laundering, right? And we're stopping crime. No, they're not. When people say stuff like, Bitcoin is used by, criminals, I'm like, like cash hasn't been, like pallets of cash aren't transacted on a daily basis for illicit behavior. Come on, wake up, turn off the news, wake up and look at the reality of what's going on. Government is not interested in you and helping you. They're not interested in your prosperity. They think that you are just a serf and a peon that needs to be controlled. And that is the truth.
Definitely. Now, you guys had a lot of interesting guests on your show, one of them being Mr. John McAfee. Now he's the kind of guy that was so over the top, outspoken. I love him because I feel like he said a lot of things that people in this industry are afraid to say. And you guys had him on the show once, twice?
Oh no,
Couple times?
5 times I
Oh,
think we
really?
had
Oh,
him.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. And if he ever resurfaces, because I'm not convinced that he's gone. I'm not. I wasn't when we heard that he was dead, and I'm still not convinced that he is. Um, I don't. If he's not, I'm not sure what the play is or what he's up to, but. I'm just gonna believe. I don't know. Sorry, Janice, if if you're hearing this, and it, his wife, that might make her sad, and knowing if he really is gone. But I don't know. You never know with that guy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, we had him on a bunch, and he was a fascinating character, very outspoken. Sometimes you'd think, okay, he's a little nuts, but we're all a little nuts.
Yeah. I don't know if he's just a little nuts. So he was the last few years, though. He was getting pretty crazy there. I followed him. I think he was one of the first people that I looked at when I first got into crypto. I'm like, who's kind of in this space? Who knows the technology? Who's the guy? And then McAfee is just the name that kept popping up. So I did get introduced through him, and I had his ghostwriter for his autobiography on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and I read the book, and had some intimate conversations there, and it's quite interesting. Like in the first half of his life, it's so wild, but it's still sort of innocent, and then near the end of his life, it's just so much going on. It's almost hard to keep up with. But I kind of just wanted to ask you a little about your experiences with him, because I was a fan and really liked the guy.
Always interesting. The first time we interviewed him, we were on, whenever we were with him, we recorded video, even though it was an audio podcast. And he's interesting to watch, right? A lot of people, I don't feel like I'm particularly compelling to watch my talking head do my thing, but there's some people that are. And there was a point in the interview where he was wrapping his arm like you were going to inject yourself with, a drug. I'm like, is he really doing heroin like right now while we're recording this? Both Travis and I were like, wait, what is he, seriously? Which I do not condone, but he was going to do whatever he wanted to do. And one time I said, like, do you have it, so there are guns nearby, and he turned around and picked up a couple beauties, and he's showing us, his semi-automatic. I don't know if he had an AK-47 or what, but plenty of guns. So always interesting. Never a dull moment.
No, I don't know if anyone can top that lifestyle or that life that he lived, because it was a wild one. In one of your previous episodes, you guys were talking about the crypto renaissance, the new renaissance, and I really like this concept because it really just hits home with me and how I think too. And just kind of want to ask you about some of the parallels you guys were talking about and how impactful this could be.
Yeah, Josh Rosenthal was he was referred to us by my friend Michael Stelzner, who runs socialmediaexaminer.com. He had him on his crypto business podcast, and I'm like, okay, this sounds like a really interesting concept that this guy is equating, today's blockchain renaissance with the original renaissance. And it's definitely worth listening. Just go to badcryptopodcast.com, look up Josh Rosenthal. And he's got so much wisdom to share. I agree with him that we're at a turning point of civilization that can go really good or really bad. When change is afoot, the powers that be get scared. They don't like change. That people in general are frightened of change. But when you're in power, change means your grip on power could be loosening, and that's threatening to people in power. And so, they fight that, which is why we're seeing, first people ignore you. Right. When Bitcoin came about, that'll never be anything. And then they laugh at you. Let's look at them with their cute little digital currency, saying that one day it's going to be a thing. Then they fight you. Right. And that's what we're in right now. We're in the fight right now. And what happens next? Then you win. Right. Because the will of the people ultimately moves forward. And there's good times and bad times along the way, because when you fight, you have wars. There are battles that take place, and there are winners and losers of those. But because blockchain is here to stay, and Bitcoin is unstoppable money, we know how this ends. We just don't know how much of the earth is going to be scorched as a result of the battle to get there. But yeah, we are definitely in a new renaissance, especially for creators, right? Creative types with art, visual art, performing art, film, music. Blockchain and NFTs open up whole new opportunities for people to create, to connect with fans, to do things that they haven't been able to do, to reach audiences that they haven't been able to reach. And of course, for entrepreneurs, blockchain provides all new avenues of creativity, because there are problems that need to be solved. Some of them we've been going along with the way we've been solving them for years, and blockchain can allow us to build better mousetraps. And that scares the powers that be. In the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of blockbusters. And by that, I mean the video store, that they were once on top and all of a sudden they're out of business. And that's going to happen in a lot of different verticals, because we are in this renaissance.
So where do you think we are in the current crypto cycle? Has Bitcoin topped off at 69K? What do you think? 2022 is still going to be a good year? Are we in the bear market?
First of all, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't think that we've been in a beer market where everybody's drinking. We've not been in a bear market, since the last rise started happening on the way up to 69. I think we've had bearish cycles. But when I look at what's happened with all previous cycles for Bitcoin, and I'm not talking about charting, I'm not talking about technical analysis, I'm just looking at trends. 69 does not seem like the blow off top. It does not seem like the multiple that the previous runs have provided for us. And the market is different this time. There's a lot more adoption. There's a lot more, people talking about it. There's a lot more people that own cryptocurrency, and NFTs are out there now, and play to earn is going to be huge this year, and the metaverses are coming. I don't see any way to stop this from blowing up. And I think aside from a black swan event, World War III, as some like to say, which can change, everything. My personal belief is we have not yet seen the top for this cycle before the real bear market sets in. But again, not financial advice. Do your own research. I don't know anything. I'm just a dude making observations here. And we always tell people from day one on Bad Crypto, do not buy, sell, or trade anything based on what you hear on this show, right? And unfortunately, there's a lot of YouTubers and podcasters out there that are hyping stuff all the time. This is going to moon, go get this. These are the hottest coins for the year. I think that's BS. I think that is clickbait, and people doing that are not treating their audience with respect. So anytime we've had a sponsor or advisory, we always provide full disclosure. Hey, we're getting paid for this, but we have vet this project and we think they're worth, bringing you. So always do your own research, always be super careful with your cryptos, who you listen to, and make sure you lock down your wallets. Get your stuff off of exchanges into cold storage, hard wallet, and watch out for phishing schemes, because there are plenty of them out there. Always check before you click a link.
Absolutely. And that is one thing I admire about you guys, is that when you do release your content, it's not clickbait. And as much as I love guys like Pomp and BitBoy, like everything they post is Bitcoin going to $1 million, or is it's just like, once you've been in crypto long enough, you don't really want to, you get the opposite effect of that, right? You don't really want to click it when I see stuff like that. But I
Yeah,
do.
I mean, if we were in it to grow our numbers, I'm sure there's a lot of things we could do to
Mhm.
get more listeners. And I'm just not interested because that's not authentic to who we are. We don't want to play that game. We just want to do what we
Mhm.
do. And if it means we have fewer listeners or followers than
Mhm.
these other guys you talk about, that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
good with that. I don't need to be, top of the heap. I just want to play the game.
Yeah, and I feel the same way to you. And I think unfortunately those types of clickbait content is appeals to newer people in the industry and younger people that want to outpace Bitcoin or whatever they want to do there. But you're me personally, I'm heavy allocated into more like Bitcoin, Ethereum, blue chip cryptocurrencies. I'm not at the point where I want to diverse so much and risk a lot of gains that I've made. But you're obviously, you do the Nifty show, you do the NFTs, and you get minted so many of them. How do you go about allocating, and do you see all these NFTs holding value in the long run?
Oh, all of them will definitely not hold value. Most of them won't hold value. Most of the projects, look, think about it in terms of any kind of small
Mm-hmm.
business that started, right? 2 years later, single digits are succeeding. The rest of them are either, in debt or have gone out of business. So I think we're going to see something very similar in the NFT space. There's a lot of hype around them. The ones that build their community, continue engaging with their community and bringing value to their collection with a long roadmap and not just, a one and done, are going to be here for the long haul. I've done one and done collections, but I've always been out front and said, okay, I'm making these bro punks, and they're a generative set of 4,200 of these bros in punk style, and collect them, and I'll drop you another pack if you've opened up, some, and that's it. And then, I'll get criticism from people after the fact to say, what else are you going to do with this? I'm like, I told you what I was going to do. I literally told you this is what these are. But people's expectations are now being set by other collections, and they're being demanding. I've had people come to me and curse me out because I'm not doing more with something that they bought when I never told them there was going to be anything else. But I think now going forward, if you're going to create, it needs to be really clear about what your long-term deliverables are. And of course, now we have a lot more options because NFTs are the key to unlock any experience that we want, whether it's more NFTs, digital goods, in-person experiences, consultations, memberships, loyalty programs, whatever we want to do. It's all in the hands of the creators now. And if there's a DAO for that particular collection, the community, gets to decide what happens next. So those who do that well, Gary Vee is going to be, his roadmap is 40 years. He's not going anywhere. VeeFriends, I think, is going to hold value. The OGs, of the world, the crypto punks, because they were, amongst the first. I think there's other OG collections that'll have their day as well. Just like when we go back and look at, we might say Superman and Batman, earliest comics, these are valuable, but you discover that you've got some others in there that maybe weren't as famous, but because they're OGs, now they're valuable. I think we're going to see that happen. And I think there's going to be collections that became abandoned that didn't succeed in their time, that in the future, we're going to look back and go, oh, this collection failed and this is why. And now people are collecting them and they're in demand. Unfortunately, without the benefit of years of experience, people tend to look in a very short term. If the NFT they just minted, an hour ago drops below minting price on OpenSea, they freak out. And it's immature, it's childish, and it's incredibly short-sighted. This is not a microwave world. Yes, we can microwave our popcorn, but life doesn't play out like that. Real experiences take time to play out. It takes time for businesses to execute, and the demands that people put on projects. I'm thinking when people do that, I'm thinking you've never actually run a project, have you? You think that this is magical. It's not. It takes hard work to pull this stuff together. So I look at things from a futurist perspective. So when I'm looking at NFTs today, I'm actually 10 years in the future looking back at what I've collected today. And that's the mindset that I have, is that I'm looking at the long term for these things. I mean, I remember the days of, people saying, hey, invest in a mutual fund and get, 10%, 8% annual, on returns on your stock market investments. Now people want 10x on whatever they buy, in a week. It's ridiculous. And it just reeks of immaturity. And again, maybe experience counts for some of that. I don't know. But I think being able to look ahead and have patience is really important.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite digital art NFT collection?
I think that I've got some really interesting pieces. I think that the ones that I'm really excited about is what Artifact is doing with the Clonex series. I was fortunate enough to be able to mint a Clonex, and I've got the drop. They dropped a box to us, and the community is on a treasure hunt. They're solving puzzles to get to the point where we can open and reveal what's in this box that has the Nike swoosh on it. Like, this is the first time we've seen Nike on an NFT with Artifact, and there's this mystery of what's in this thing. And like, the floor on the unopened box right now is like 5 ETH. And there's just, I feel like whatever it is, they're going to over deliver on it. And so I'm not selling, there's just things like, I'm not selling my gift goat. Gary's delivered 2 gifts so far. There's 16 more to come. There's 3 VCons before us, and he's going to deliver some amazing stuff. And I don't know what it is, but I'm not selling it.
I'm the play to earn space interests me. Can you point me in somewhere where I can kind of get started?
Sure, absolutely. I've been fortunate to know many of the teams in the play to earn space. We're connected to Animoca Brands, Gala Games, Splinterlands, Star Atlas. Any of those are good places. Anybody can go into Splinterlands. I think you buy a spell book for $10 and you're in the game and you're doing play to earn. Anybody can go to Gala Games and play Townstar. Right now, Townstar.com, one of the co-founders of Zynga, Farmville, is the creator of it, and I earn town every day. In fact, that reminds me, I need to set up my town for the month, because you have to do that on the first of the month and start it going again so that you can earn. Another one that is the first MMORPG that I've watched being developed by a game studio, an actual game studio that has turned to blockchain, not the other way around, right? Because a lot of people are looking for, how do we build a play to earn? And the mistake there is that a lot of the games that are being built like that aren't fun, and games are supposed to be fun. Well, the guys at Vulcan Forged, part of the Vulcanverse, vulcanverse.com, have developed Vulcan Forge, which is their MMORPG, and people are earning Pyre, which is the token. I think it's at $11 a coin right now, and you can buy land, and you can have these avatars, and you can forge for other NFTs, and so all of these, are great places to get started. It's still very early, especially in the play to earn space. I think that this is going to be the year that the media latches on to play to earn. At some point this year, they're going to start breaking the stories about these people that are making, hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe $1 million in play to earn. And they're going to become more common. And that's going to open the door for people to go, wait, I'm playing Fortnite and not making anything. And the game community has been pushing back against NFTs because they don't understand it. They're going to adopt it as well. It's going to happen. And it's, again, the beginning of any technology adoption curve. You have your pioneers, then you have your early adopters. And we are barely crossing the threshold in play to earn from pioneer to early adopters. So it's very, very early.
And does most of this exist, or all of it exist, on the Ethereum chain, or do you see any of it happening on, like, a lot of it happening on Solana or other competitors?
Yeah, there's stuff happening on Solana. Star Atlas is on Solana. Splinterlands is on Hive. There's a bunch of play to earn games on the Wax blockchain, which is one of my favorites right now. Some of them are chore games where you just click to collect your crypto after staking, but some of them are actually building real games. Like my son, Draco Dice, dracodice.com. He built the first game pieces of blockchain that are portable between Wax and BSC and Ethereum. And these dice can be used by any developer in their game and bring the audience of those holding them with them. So there's new paradigms. We're seeing stuff on Polygon as well. There's games coming out there. Avalanche has got some games. Algorand has got some games. We're going to see this across multiple chains, and eventually we'll have some sort of singularity where there'll be this interoperability and connectivity between them. But for now, the race is on.
Very exciting. I'm super excited to get involved with this stuff. Joel, we're at 50 minutes here. I'm going to thank you for taking the time out of your life to, answer some of my questions and inform myself, my family, and some of my listeners as well.
Yeah.
There's no doubt this will be the baddest episode I've ever had. And, open mic for you if you have anything else or words of wisdom for us. If not, maybe you can just let us know where we can follow you and learn more.
Well, at Joel Comm on Twitter, where I'm shadow banned. Of course, badcryptopodcast.com and theniftyshow.com for the podcast. Go subscribe, listen, review. Don't be a hater. We like 5-star reviews. If you do a 1-star review, then we put you on the show and mock you mercilessly. Not kidding. Words of wisdom to leave with you is you do you. Don't let other people should on you about what you're supposed to be doing with your life. Seek to do good stuff. Follow your passions. Take risks and have fun doing it. And I was on a call with my friend Mark Skeppy earlier today, and on his wall behind him, he had these 3 words: trust the process. So important. And this is all about learning to be patient. Trust the process. Things happen when they should happen, not always when you want them to happen. And when they do happen in their own timing, it usually ends up better than if you tried to force it. So let life happen and have fun.
Joel, I'm going to thank you again for giving me those words of wisdom. You've given me lots to review today, and I will certainly be in touch. And I'll probably have this episode up on Monday, and I'll give you a heads up.
Sounds great. Cheers, friend.
Cheers.
Thank you all for listening to the Having Report podcast. Please like and subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, check out our show notes below for more about our guests and some sweet crypto coupons, and we'll see you back next time.